Hi, I'm Angie Beto, and welcome back to Town Talk as we continue our discussion with City Council at Large candidates Roger Harris and Steve Bell. We have been tuning in with them to see what they have to say on the most critical matters that are facing our city. Election Day is coming up June 18th, so it seems like the campaign that will never end to some degree, I'm sure.
I'm glad somebody else
will. Town Square Buzz went to our readers and we asked for some input. And so here are a few of the questions that our readers have submitted for you gentlemen. And remember, you each get 2 minutes to answer the questions and then you get 1 minute to rebut. Okay. And I believe this time it's Mr. Bell's turn to start first. So a reader wrote in, a few years ago, Frisco had a vote to move the alcohol served at the local bars, restaurants, establishments until 2 a.m. It didn't pass in Frisco. How do you feel about that issue in McKinney? Should that come?
Oh gosh, from a personal standpoint, I don't think anything happens that's good after 12 o'clock at midnight. Okay. But that's just me. But having been in the restaurant business, it's tough. I mean, you know, they're looking for those extra hours to be able to sell, because in many cases that may be their profit and so forth that's there. It kind of reminds me of our elections, you know, when I think, what was it we had for the presidential election? It was like 65 or 66% of the 65,000 registered voters we had. But when we did beer and wine election, we were 78% of the registered voters, you know, and it just goes to show you that there's that desire. And when we look at, well, what's one of our little economic engines here in town? Well, it's definitely our restaurants and our hotels and their bars and so forth that they have there. So you want to do what is right within reason to be able to provide them with all the economy that they possibly can get. Now, having said that though, that's a decision that's left up to the voters. You know, that would have to be a referendum that would come before the voters, and then the city will speak as to what needs to be done.
Okay. Mr. Harris?
That's definitely a citizen's choice. I mean, that's something that I think citizens have to speak to, and I would put it out to the citizens.
Okay.
Can I just make, are you through? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm through.
I will say something I just learned. You know, right now we have the 51-49 rule, you know, when it comes to relationship of food and liquor. Beverage. But when we go over 120,000 in population, you know, that goes away.
Yes.
And so now you can have straight bars.
Was that your rebuttal?
Yeah, I wasn't a rebuttal. It was just another informational thing, which is something else that the citizens are going to need to think about. You know, is that, do you want, there's not a lot we can do now other than we would have to restrain them if that was the direction that they wanted to go. But that is a state law. So now anyone can come in here now. They meet all the other requirements. They don't have to have the balance of food and liquor.
Okay. All right, Mr. Harris, another reader wrote in, do you have any specific plans or ideas to create jobs or promote business, particularly promote business in McKinney?
Create jobs or promote business from existing businesses?
Either.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's probably the majority of my platform, the majority of the reason why I decided to run for the city council. McKinney has to deliver tax base. The easiest way to do that is to bring businesses to town that buy buildings, put in equipment, provide jobs. Those people are going to go out and spend their money. We, in my opinion, have not been successful in getting that done. I think it's several-fold as to the reason why we haven't been successful. One, we don't have enough planning being done on the part of the development services, working with economic development to decide where these entities are going to go, prepare the infrastructure so that we can go to a company and say, look, this is what it's going to look like, this is where we would like to have you. In addition to that, I think we do a very good marketing job, but we are not closing enough orders.
Okay.
You know, that's the economic development team, that's them working out on their own. We currently have a new city manager that has been given the vision and the strategy from the city council that that's what they want. I think Mr. Gray is got that in his sights. I think he's going to start working very closely with economic development and community development to bring the entire tool chest to bear to start getting these companies and getting the product on the ground so that we can start moving forward in that endeavor. I think the important thing here is that the person that's put on the council has to be somebody that can support that initiative. We don't need micromanagers. We don't need people that don't have the business experience. What we need are people that can work as a board of director member and help the council steer the management of the city to develop that and put it on the ground.
Okay, thank you.
Having said that, then both you and I should really be on council together. You know, because we are.
But you only get one choice in the selection.
But our history parallels that. You know, here's what happens. A company comes to town. The first thing that they look at is, one, is what kind of education system do I have that I'm going to be able to offer my employees for their families when they come in. Second is what kind of a living environment do they come in. I think, you know, man, we hit the mark on that. I mean, 5th best place to live in the United States. Our education system is great. Then the other thing they look at is what amenities will be there for my families. Well, unfortunately, we're thin in that area. I mean, if you have a company that comes here that has people come, clients come from out of state to come and visit or around the world, or where do they stay? You know, we don't have, and the Holiday Inn is our closest thing to a 5-star hotel. So what happens, they end up staying over in Frisco or whatever. So we have got to be able to start planning and going out and seeking these businesses that is going to help us attract these major businesses coming in. So they've got a place for their visitors or their employees to stay and people that want to come and visit them. We've got to have a better selection of restaurants and so forth so that we can keep all these tax dollars in McKinney. Yes, people come here, but it's just like when we ask people to raise their hand at one of our forums, how many of you go to Frisco, Allen, and Stonebridge? Sure. They all go. Well, how do we stop that? You know, we've got to go out and find that selected mix that is going to keep our people here, that's going to keep our tax dollars here, but importantly also attract that tax dollar from outside of our city limits and bring it, because those are home runs for us, because we don't have any services we have to do for that. So that's a major obstacle for us, but it is something that can be done.
Perfect.
Follow?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I think everybody wants that type of entity. You know, everybody wants the hotel, everybody wants the businesses. When I got on the Economic Development Board, one of the things that became very obvious to me is that we are asking our city staff to administer ordinances that were created by previous councils that are far in excess of what our neighboring cities of Allen and Frisco are asking, and Plano are asking these companies to do. We've gone through the plat conveyance ordinance, we've made modifications to bring that in line with what other cities are asking. It's sailed through P&Z, it's sailed through the city council. We now have that ordinance, which is pretty much the same as the other cities. We've got plans on looking at some additional ordinances, but in the course of doing that, I found that Frisco has a developer council board that an applicant can go to, and that council will work with the applicant to move through the P&Z. And so it's not the fact that you want it, it's the point that you've got to learn how to get it done.
Okay. That's a good segue into our next reader submitted question. One of our readers asked, what do you feel would be the best use for the Gateway project area? Do you have any plans in your mind, or have you given any consideration to what we might do with the Gateway area at 121 and 75? Mr. Bell.
I was first in the last one, I thought, but whatever you want. Well, first of all, it's a prime piece of property, and it is the Gateway that was coming there. You know, the original deal that went sideways, there wasn't anything wrong with that. I mean, it was great. It was a conference center, a luxury hotel, and then where we kind of got off out track is that we should have had the Waters Crossing type development right behind it over there next to Coles. But in the way that deal turned around, we weren't able to do that. I just looked at that plan again just the other day and pulled it up. It's still a great plan. Now, I do not think it ought to be a convention center that the city owns and operates.
Okay.
Because I don't think we're good managers of businesses that really needs to have private influence in there. Now, if we could structure it some way to be a public-private type of business, but the city doesn't have any management fingers in it, I would go along with that. But it needs to be something that is so impressive that when you drive up into McKinney, you say, oh man, I'm here, you know?
Right.
And to be able to have that type of environment that our city citizens want, so they can come there and spend and relax and walk around that little lake they had planned and the 5 restaurants that were off to the back. I mean, I can see it. Well, if you really want to see it, you can go down to Bethany and take a good look for it. It's either that, or if we could move a large corporate user here.
Okay.
That would take a big portion of that. I'm all over that one.
Okay.
You know, because that brings in lots of dollars and lots of people eating lunch and spending their money here in town, and a lot of visitors.
Excellent. Okay, Mr. Harris.
Well, I've been working hard on that question, and a lot of it is covered by the activity that's been going on in economic development. So I've got to be careful of what I say. You know, that's called Gateway because it's front door of the city of McKinney. So whatever we deliver has got to be a statement that you're here, you're in McKinney, this is the front door. I think that development, of course, it's out for an RFQ right now, so we've got some of the best in the country looking at it. Collin College built there with the understanding that McKinney was going to deliver the hotel and the conference center. I think it should include a component of some a large commercial office campus style. We've got the educational component there. There will be some retail. I think the fact that the project fell apart when the recession hit, and now we have the ability to see what's on the ground to the south of us. We can modify our plans. We can develop that area so that we're taking into consideration what's here. We've got the 121 corridor open right up to that. That is going to be a major intersection, not only in North Texas, but in the state. So it has to be that type of a statement. I think the council is right on mark on what they're doing. I think we've got the right experts involved. I think the $8.70 per square foot that we're into that property is going to prove to be a fantastic investment for the city of McKinney. And I take my hat off to the city council and the negotiating team that the EDC put together and the council to pull that out of the litigation and the bankruptcy that was created by the reception. I think they did a fantastic job. And I think the voters in McKinney need to understand that that is going to be a premier site. They're going to do it. We're going to do it right. And it's going to happen sooner than later.
Okay. Rebuttal?
Well, the key thing is doing it right. And I do think that with Jason there, Jason Gray, the new city manager, I think it will be done right. That project never started off right. And when you start one off that is not right, it's not going to finish right. And, you know, we don't need to get into all of that and what's been in the newspapers and everything else. But that 121 corridor coming into 75, do you know that there's 200,000 more cars a day on 75 than there are on the I-35 corridor?
Wow.
It's the latest TxDOT study. And you know, we always think it's the 35 corridor as the main line coming through, but it's not. It's Highway 75. We just overpower them with cars. And so we have that great opportunity, just like what Roger said and I said. You know, we need that wow statement right there at the very beginning.
Okay.
You know, so that people know that, man, I am here in McKinney. Here is the landmark.
Okay. Thank you. I just have a couple more questions. And Mr. Harris, you get to go first, and I'm sorry you're right, so you'll get to go first. The next two, remind me, I'm getting senile.
Well, that's good. I hope I go first on election day.
I think I'm already on that one.
I'm in vote count.
Time out. Which of the following do you feel is the _1 issue facing our community, and what would you do to address it? So besides economic development, water shortages, potentially, transportation or mobility, or lack thereof, quality of life as in needing the natatorium, more parks and rec, perhaps a soccer complex, those kinds of things, or environmental sustainability?
Well, that's very difficult. I'd say the quality of life, transportation and mobility are number one.
Okay.
And the sustainability number two. So what would that leave?
So
on
that's okay, just the first,
okay.
I was just wondering what your priority might be. And taking that the next step then, what would you do if elected to council to address that?
That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that. The natatorium, as you mentioned, and quality of life. I've been very surprised by the amount of people that have contacted me and want to talk about a natatorium, a swimming pool, and I'm going to suggest, if I'm successful, that we get a committee together and look at that type of facility, but look at it in a little bit different manner. Look at one that would bring people into the area, that would provide a facility to have swim meets of Olympic USS category, and possibly do a performance, see what kind of fees can be generated, and see what kind of economic impact we can develop from that. Of course, I guess I'm back on economic impact. But quality of life is definitely something that brought people to the city of McKinney. We get as much money brought into the coffers for quality of life as we do economic development. So it really needs to share the spotlight. Sustainability is very, very important, and it's something that I think City of McKinney has done a fantastic job on. I applaud the studies that have been done. I applaud the meetings that have been held, the attention that has been brought to the forefront. I participated in a PTA meeting the other day where we had city staff out talking about sustainability. They had handouts. I think there's a reason why we're number 5. I'm not sure why we're not number 1, but we do a fantastic job. We've got a great community, and what we need is a city council that can further that and work together to get that going as being number 1 place in the country to live.
Okay.
And I think we're headed that way.
Thank you. Mr. Bell, do I need to ask the first part again?
I think I remember most of it. Quality of life is number 1, but you know, when you go quality of life, there are things underneath that give you that quality of life. One is the sustainability of our city. 2 is the parks, recreations, and that type of thing. All these amenities that we're talking about. The other is obviously water and sewer, and you know, having everything operate the way it should. And then public safety. Public safety is a major concern. People need to feel safe. They need to feel like they can go out in their parking lot, put their bags in there, and go back to another store. You know, it's a shame that we have to have all these walking, you know, eye in the sky type of thing that we have there. But that's part of society today, and that's the way that it is. When I was on council before, and I hate going back to that, but that's some of my experience, Roger, is that we looked at how do we do a natatorium. You know, and what we did is we worked a joint venture with the school district so that we could go about and share, because the school needed those programs, and we wanted to be able to offer programs for our citizens so that they could come. And so it was a great partnership in doing that. Now with Collin College there, we have another opportunity. They would also like to have swimming pools and a natatorium and that type of thing. So if we could work a deal with our education groups that we have here in town and work in a joint partnership with them, then we could provide the pools and so forth that not only our school children could use during the day, but then all of our citizens could use during the summer and at nights and early in the morning, whenever they wanted to go and work out based upon the scheduling. And it makes a great use of our tax base. And MCDC played a big part in that, in helping us put that together so that we could get these natatoriums built. You know.
I see. Thank you. Rebuttal?
I don't mind you bringing up the council from 10 years ago, because I think that's one of the reasons why I decided to run, is because we don't have the natatorium, we don't have Pizza Hut Park, we don't have all of these areas that everybody wants to have. It's not just the council 10 years ago, it's other councils as well, but we haven't delivered to the citizens. And that's why I decided to run. We've got to put together a strategy and a vision, and we've got to get these items delivered to the citizens.
Okay, thank you. We in McKinney have a fairly significant Hispanic population. It will continue to grow, as we are well aware. What steps would you specifically take to include them in this government process so that they feel that their voice is being heard?
And that is Jude.
I'm sorry.
That's very important. As a matter of fact, we had a PhD from Dallas come up and talk about the cross-cultural communication issue that we face as a nation, as a state, and here in North Texas and McKinney specifically. I thought it was very informative. Basically, the bottom line is that we've got to start including these people from all different cultures in one effort to grow one community. We've got to start communicating on the level that they communicate, whether it's Spanish, whatever the method of communication is. Now, we don't necessarily need to be Spanish speaking or go learn another language, but we need to, for example, the suggestion to the Chamber of Commerce was put something on the website in Spanish saying, hey, look, we want your involvement, okay. Come see us and we will get you into our chamber, into our community, into our society. It's incredibly important, and I applaud what the city has done in the past. We've put $61 million into improving the east side of the city of McKinney so that people begin to get involved in the community. We need to start having functions, special events in the downtown square that cater to everybody in the community. Steve and I both attended a disproportionality meeting the other day at CASA, and it was extremely interesting. They're basically facing the same type of an issue.
Okay, Mr. Bell.
I'm going to go back to council because the Hispanic and Black population in our city deserve the same things that the rest of our city has. When I got on council, I spent as much time in District 1 as I did in District 4. It's because of my efforts with council, I got a swimming pool built on the east side of town over there. Because of my efforts and Bill Whitfield's efforts and then Julie Vargo's and Gilda Garza's efforts, we got Barney's gym built over there. We got the remodel of Luzon Park. Completely redid the park over on Highway 75 because I felt like they needed the same type of things that we do. I hold a camp over there at Luzon every year for kids to teach them how to play baseball. Totally free. I give them all gloves and bats and that type of thing. I just met last week, and I meet again tomorrow with a group of Black ministers and Hispanic ministers that are over there because we're focusing and talking about what do we need to do to have an inclusive McKinney. How do we go about this totally integrating our society to where everybody gets the same type of education, everyone's provided the same type of infrastructure. I mean, when I went and saw back before I got on, when I got on council, some of the people are there without toilets. I mean, we changed that. I made it a crusade to go over there and get them toilets and get water to their homes instead of to a garden hose, you know, to do those types of things. And Roger, you're right. Nothing has been done since I've gotten off council. And I can mark it by the minutes in the book because all these initiatives that I worked so hard on with Julie Vargo and Bill Whitfield and Gilda Garza were all stopped. For the last 10 years, we haven't built a natatorium, we haven't built these things, we haven't kept up the infrastructure on that east side like it should have been.
Thank you. Last question.
Is there a rebuttal on that?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. I'm sorry. Thank you for that reminder.
Well, Luzon Park is still being renovated, Steve.
Well, it should be. It's 10 years old.
I'm not disputing whether it should be or not.
Everything ages.
What I'm saying is that you single-handedly didn't get the plumbing and everything over to the people on the east side of town, and it was your council that didn't get the Pizza Hut Park, the other economic development initiatives that we spoke of. So my comment was that to this day we don't have a lot of those items that we've been working on, and it wasn't necessarily your time on the city council, but it's been that city council as well as the city councils moving forward that are the reason why we don't have the Cabela's and the Pizza Hut Park and the other items that we've mentioned. That has to do with the system that we are using, and that's what has to be overhauled.
Okay. Okay, and last question or comments. To share with our readers and audience what your final comments you would like them to know as you enter the last few days of this race, at-large race.
Well, change does have to take place on council. I mean, you reference my council. I'm one of 7 votes. You know, the first time we voted for Pizza Hut, Roger, it was 7-0, and we went through and made an announcement around the world. It ended up being an embarrassing announcement because the mayor, because special interest, mayor wanted a legacy for himself, and this is documented in the minutes, and wanted a performing arts center. All he had to do was convince 3 other people of that fact, and then it rolled on. And it forced the magic number in what we do. No, I didn't single-handedly go out there and get it, but I brought awareness to it. I brought awareness to that we couldn't get a fire truck down some of the streets over there so that we could go and serve a fire. You know, the trucks were having to get in there and back up instead of being able to go and turn around. We got those problems solved because I brought awareness to it. You know, a lot of the infrastructure problems, because I brought awareness to it. No, I didn't go out there and do it, physically do the work or that, but I did go out there and talk to people and find out what was going on, and then I came and I brought it to council, and I hammered and hammered and hammered. The biggest problem we've got today on city council, that if it doesn't benefit certain people here in town, Roger, it flat does not get done. And the minutes, judging from 2000 and I want to say 2004 forward, reflect that. Never in the history of in the city have we had council people brought up on RICO charges. Now they've since been dismissed, but they were brought up. Never have we had the type of interference that has gone on in city government that we've had in the last, I'm not going to count this sitting council because I think these guys have done a decent job, but prior to that, there's been major problems there where we've got our hands slapped for too many closed-door sessions and that type of thing. You've got people on council right now that will get up and walk out of a closed-door session, and I say I applaud them for that. But we need to change that kind of attitude. We forget that this is citizens. This is for the citizens and not for a few.
Thank you. Your summary?
Well, I think that pretty much it shows the difference between us. The future council that is going to determine where the city goes is going to be a council that works together, that builds consensus, that provides a strategy and a vision for the city manager and the city staff to develop a tactical plan and go out and get the economic development, the quality of life, community development initiatives, transportation, thoroughfare plan. That is carried out by city staff on a day-to-day basis. It's the council that has to work together as a board of directors and provide the direction. We spoke earlier about where the city is. You know, 121 corridor is open, 75 121 interchange is up and running. We've got the Gateway project that I believe is just getting ready to get kick-started again, and is going to be a major front door to the community. We've got the new runway being developed, the control tower is open, we've got the TIF on Highway 5, the TIF for the downtown redevelopment, or not redevelopment, but the improving of the downtown area. I think a lot of good has been done, and rather than look back at and criticize where we've come from, I think it's very important for us to look ahead and realize that we're going from 130,000 people up to 350, 380,000 people, and we've got a plan to provide for the 2/3 of the city that isn't here yet. I learned the other day that the new Gen X and Gen Ys and millennials that are coming up, how they operate so much different than the baby boomers do. And Texas has more of those Gen X's and Gen Ys than any other state in the country. So I think we're going to be in the epicenter of the new economy coming out of this recession. I think it's going to be a very good time to be here in McKinney, Texas, and I hope that you vote for Roger Harris for City Council at large. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It was a pleasure having you here, talking with you about your thoughts as you conclude your race for City Council at large. Election Day is coming up on June 18th. Don't forget to go out and vote, make your voice heard. And if you have any other questions that you would like to ask our council candidates, please submit them to us at Town Square Buzz. You can write it in the comments section of the article, and we'll see that the candidates send you an answer. Thanks for joining us.